So I'll suggest to you, in the context of cognitive load and multimedia learning, is what we do and how we do the stuff that we do is extremely important to learning. And I don't think that's a surprise to most people. But let me continue. This has got to do with cognitive load and the three types there that exist. And we'll use that baking analogy of a nice measuring cup. The germane load is sort of what the student brings to the room. How motivated are they to be there? How dedicated are they to the process of learning that day? We can fool around with that a little bit, making jokes, making the room ergonomically nice, getting those cognitive ergonomics flushing through. The intrinsic load is what you teach. Sometimes we don't have too much control over that. If we're teaching some type of sociological theory that's very complex, or we're teaching, I don't know, quantum physics, that may have a high intrinsic load versus the beginnings of mathematics or anatomy. Just to diss myself. And then we have what we do as educators, what we push upon the students, what we impose on them by the way we actually talk about our stuff. So we can really knock this down and say, here's what you do, what the subject matter is, and what the individual is. Okay? And let me show you a little example of what I think about extraneous cognitive load. And some of you have seen this, so forgive me, but I love this slide. It took me hours to build, so you're going to see it and you're going to like it. Here are your students. They're and this is extraneous cognitive load. We'll call this extraneous. They're looking around the room, hopefully looking at you mostly, and you want to talk about something today and access their brains, right? You want to be able for them to learn something. Therefore, the brain needs to be involved. And, oh, darn it, we use a really bad picture, for example. Today, class, we're going to talk about the lateral leg. The lateral leg, as you can easily see from this picture, is on the lateral side of the body. One of the 55 leaders there indicates the name of the muscle I want you to find, peroneus longus. In your mind's eye, rotate this image laterally 90 degrees. Find the fibula from the class we talked about 3 weeks ago and locate the peroneus longus. What the heck is that? What's going on here? What I've just done is I placed a goaltender, being Canadian, in front of my brain, in front of this brain of my students. And because I increase cognitive load, this goaltender is what we call a wall. You can't get past it. You can barely see little niblets of the brain back there. So where does all this wonderful information about peroneus longus go? It goes down the toilet. It gets flushed. And I could give this lecture in Canada, or I could go to Australia, and it still goes down the toilet, just the other way. Right? It works for everybody. Même en français, ça marche. It goes regardless of the language. However, if I start to think about extraneous cognitive load, if I start to use Mayer's principles of reduction of cognitive load, I can actually pick off better pictures. Oh, this one looks a little better. It's the lateral leg. There's not a lot of crap there. Maybe I'll signal to my students what they should be looking at. Hey class, remember on the first slide today I reminded you about the fibula and the skeleton down below? The head of the fibula sticks out at the top. That's a really good hint that we're on the lateral leg. If you're really unsure, have a look at the front of the leg where you'll see the patella. And from that point forward, they're starting to scaffold. Scaffold on previous knowledge, and they're putting things together much more clearly. And if I had a laser pointer that would shoot that far, I would shoot it right at the peroneus longus. And you would enjoy it. So what it does, why do you enjoy it? Because I've put the spell on that goaltender and shrunk him. He's still there. Everyone has some type of block. We'll never get rid of it completely, I don't think, until we just plug ourselves in and go download. It's not going to happen. So what that does, though, is flushes less and allows us to create better connections with our learners. And, you know, at the same time, we de novo ones, but because they have previous knowledge, it's probably not that new. We're reinforcing the good stuff and we're negating the bad stuff, or we're making it a little bit less obvious to them.